Welcome everyone to the 288th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, August 8th, 2019. I'm your host, Rick Crammond, along with Flint Mulhausen. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. And as always, we are joined with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will deliver today's teaching and give us the latest information about the Keshe Foundation. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin today's workshop?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you there. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, good day to you as usual, whenever and wherever you listen to these knowledge seekers programs. As usual, we try to start in a positive way with what we have done, what we can achieve, and what can be done. And step by step, we take the technology to the next level. And in the past months, we have gone to another step after the understanding of the soul of the man. And in this process, we have come to a new dimension that we are going back into a structure of systems that can be applied without any what we call energy sources, or in a way of the real space system, flight system. If you remember, we shared the knowledge with the governments originally, as we said many times. They did not share it with public. So after 2 years, we shared it with public. And then we started teaching publicly, heavily, everything else. But in so many ways, we went from matter to gas to energy and the plasma. And now we are moving into a final, well, one of the final phases of the new technology development. But this time we are sharing the knowledge with the governments and the number of publics directly. This is why we have set up the first conference in Austria, end of September. This is where we invite the, what we call the military, the space agencies, those who work in space defense technology, to be part of this conference. What this means, this is a prelude to another conference a few months later, which will be the beginning of the establishment of what we call CBRU. This is a combination space program between scientists from China, Iran, Russia, Brazil, India, and United States. We have already made offer and invited both military and space from both sides, from all these nations, to attend the conference in Austria. How they attend, who will attend, how originally they're going to be open to each other, it's another dimension. What will be interesting for those governments who do not want their scientists to be seen, they will join on a screen, which means scientists jointly will discuss the next step, because you have to understand a lot of nations are protective of their scientists. So the conference in Austria, which is set up to happen in the last week of September, is the beginning of the structure of the new space technology. We know that number of nations would like to send delegations which are not part of it. They have already informed us. We arranged that to be done as part of their company and organizations. In so many ways, this will be one of the most international organizations where those of you who have booked to come in will sit with those of us who have from governments, from Keshe Foundation, and the other institutes in the space program want to be part of. We have allocated a limited number of seats to public. You got to understand. Any of you who want to attend, we have allocated a very limited numbers because we have to see how the governments responds in sending delegations or how they participate in this conference. What it is to get what they call the attention of the governments, that the new technology is a breakthrough, new, totally unseen technologies which will affect the defense, the space, and every other aspects of the technology will openly be demonstrated. What this means? It means we'll break through that if the governments do not go through with the process of collaboration, the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers who are present become their ambassadors to separate it and to bring it up. Therefore, in a way, any of you who attend the conference will become part of the first one nation power force in technology. And this is why we are very, very careful who we invite, who we allow to come in, and any of you can join. We are not making any difference who you are, what you are. As long as we know who you are one of the Keshe Foundation scientists or knowledge seekers, or those who understand the technology who want to be part of it, we allow you in. But the condition is that no pillow talk. Nothing can be done, because then you become part of the structure to develop the technology worldwide for all the nations together. You're a doctor. In the process, you will see new, unseen medical systems. You are into energy, you will see energy systems that has been the dream to produce. You are in agriculture, you will see new agriculture systems that will change the whole national and international food security. This conference is set to change the course, and for this reason, we have already made the invitation to American military forces to be present. We have made the invitation to NASA people to be present. Iranian forces will be present. Iranian space people will be present. We will have people from other nations which sit next to each other as part of the peace program. In so many ways, Iranians and the Americans on the same platform will share knowledge. Doesn't matter what. Whatever they take from the teachings and the conference is to their benefit to bring peace and unity. This is what we planned, and now, as I said, I have finished with my work in China. We have a fantastic team set up in China. They're doing their work and the progress as it is, and it's going on. The same Armin and the American team are putting the global team together, and in joint venture with the two sides will now share, and we take charge of being one nation group. In a way, we teach the air forces, we teach the military, we teach the space people, we teach the medicine and medical application and everything else to what I call our siblings, to our brothers and sisters in other forces which they thought are unique and are powerful. This way we share to understand the whole technology collapses under one roof, which is what we're going to do. In so many ways, this is the only way Keshe Foundation can operate. We are setting up to go ahead. We are in line with going ahead. We are very much in presence of understanding, and I think it'll be time if our team can show one of the intros where we speak about the unification, what we become in the space. Flint, if you have that video to play, and then I'll add more into it after the video.
The short 1 minute video?
Pardon?
The short
No,
1 minute
the one
video?
we usually play about the man in space.
Okay, let me get that lined up here.
If you have it, you got to understand. We've seen many people making booking. If you do not pay for the booking, we do not take the order. And as we receive confirmation, it has to be fully done. We have to know immediately. We are not blocking just because you registered. You will be told if you're accepted or not. And if you go on a website, you will see if you're individuals and Keshe Foundation supporters, there is a charge of 1,500 euro. If you're governmental, the fee is 2,500 euro. And this will carry on the same way. And we close the registration very soon. We are not holding on because then we have to understand and we go through the whole process. And as has been in the other conferences, we are there this time.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
And we finished this conference, in the first conference in Austria, the whole geopolitics of what we know will change. You will understand very soon. These are technologies you've never seen, technologies we developed in the background and still getting developed in different parts of the world with different knowledge seekers, which have been taught individually. So the whole thing will come together. You will see it. We've chosen specifically unknown Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers that nobody knows them, that they cannot be touched. They're being kept in the background for every development, be it Americans, being Iranian, being Chinese, being other nations. We have trained and we're going through the processing of developing these technologies in the, what I call silence of technology. And you will see the big changes. Please understand, if you attend these conferences, especially the first one in Austria, you become part of the bigger structure of the Keshe Foundation worldwide operation as one nation, scientific, and what we call the space program. In this program, later on, we add the Mojans on to come in, as they have the expertise to be, they've been trained for it, they get better training. And then we'll see the connection between the operation of CBRU and what we call Universal Council, the Earth Council, and the Keshe Foundation. So this is going to be amalgamation of a lot of work. In a way, our physical work to unite financially and economically all parts of the Keshe Foundation, from the Chinese side to the American side, and the rest has already completed. It's taken its birth and it's moving. And now it's time to take charge to complete what we came here for. Do you have the video to play?
Yes, I have it ready.
Okay, go ahead, please.
From the beginning of time, humans have always looked towards the sky for inspiration and guidance. There has been a fascination with birds, stars, gods, goddesses, and other entities which seem to exist above us, and for many humans, a strong yearning to travel into space. Man has dreamt of flight since observing space, and now it is time to become the space traveller. The future of space travel requires us to understand from where we came, to see where we are going.
Several thousand years ago, philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban from China were looking to the wind for flight. They invented kites using silk and bamboo, allowing for the later development of communication, measuring distances, testing the wind, and lifting men.
The invention of the kite brought with it the desire to fly. The first known attempts at flight were typically by leaping off towers, known as tower jumping, people in China, India and Europe first attempted flight this way.
In 1670, Francesco Lana de Tarzi published a book that showed some interesting concepts. The concept of copper foil in a sphere with a vacuum would produce a vacuum airship. This is still not possible with today's materials. Francesco is recognized as the father of aeronautics, melding science and mathematics into aerial navigation.
The Chinese are believed to have developed the first hot air device. The Chinese lantern, using hot air from a candle, can take flight and was first used for signalling. The hot air balloon achieved the first human lift and advanced to what we know of as the Zeppelin.
The first attempts at flight in a heavier-than-air flying machine were made by more than just the Wright brothers. Most attempts failed. However, they were the stepping stones for what was to come later. The oldest airport, College Park, is still in operation today.
Airplanes evolved rapidly through the century, from propeller to helicopter to jet aircraft, and most of that technology is used today.
During the Second World War, Germany developed rockets that could go a limited distance. The basic rocket technology used then is still used today. The space race started with the Soviet Union and the USA in 1957 and led to many developments for the next step, the moon.
The spacecraft assigned as Apollo 11 was the first spacecraft to have landed on the moon. The space shuttle operated at tremendous cost. Burning the fuel proved to be wasteful and dangerous technology. The International Space Station, ISS, is a habitable artificial satellite that was assembled in low Earth orbit in 1998 with the use of the space shuttle. The ISS can often be seen with the naked eye from Earth.
SpaceX, as a private aerospace producer and space transportation services company, was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. SpaceX reuses the first stage of their primary rocket, Falcon 9, by vertical propulsive landings. Although, up to present time, it still uses the rocket fuel burning technology. Mehran Kesh has always said, the time for burning fuels is over. But did we need to start with that technology in the first place?
Ancient cultures have suggested the use of an alternative means of transportation. With reference to possible plasma technology,
you can go to New York from Brussels within 2 to 5 minutes. And most of this 5 minutes is actually landing and getting up.
Mehran Tavakkoli Kesh was born in Iran in 1958. As the son of an X-ray engineer, he was introduced to the world of radiation and nuclear science at a very young age. In 1981, he graduated from Queen Mary, the University of London, as a nuclear engineer specialized in reactor technology system control. At that time, he developed a number of theoretical ideas related to more simple nuclear concepts and their applications. In 2002, he decided to finish the full design of his ideas about nuclear technology. This included the creation and control of gravity and energy by the use of nuclear materials in a clean and safe hydrogen reactor. Mehran Kesh introduced the concept of double magnetic fields to explain the magnetic and gravitational field of Earth.
Unknown by the existing scientific community, he wrote a number of scientific papers in 2004 and sent them for peer review, such as the creation of black holes. When one of the persons performing the peer review used his information in public, he decided to draw back his papers and to concentrate further on building prototypes.
Since the beginning of 2006, several prototypes of dynamic reactors have been built, some specifically designed to create hovering effects, similar to effects seen with magnetic levitation. Basic hovering effects have been achieved. 2007 brought the first flight test with radioactive material, in which the patents describe the process of the field interactions.
The main patent, Gravitational and Energy System, described the initial fundamental aspects of the plasma and uses. This was followed by the supplemental patent, Microplasma Reactors, where further uses and advancements were described. Mr. Kesh found himself in Iran in 2008 and was provided all the resources needed to create the first lift of a plasma reactor managed by the Iranian government. These special rotating gas reactors were used to control the plasma. To bring a deeper understanding, Mr. Kesh released the first book in 2009, The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, which contained many new concepts released to the public. This included the PMTIC plasma magnetic fields, initial fundamental plasma and plasma dilution technology used for space reactors. The plasma technology was further developed and it manifested in weight fluctuation in a controlled environment. 2010 introduced a new state of matter called GANS, an acronym for gas in nanosolid state. The GANS produces fields to be used in the operation of the spaceship. Advanced flight tests were performed in Iran with the guidance of Mr. Kesh and the newly designed systems.
Mr. Kesh tells us you can't bring all the doctors with you in space. Medical research advanced in 2010 and is still being explored daily all around the world. The Kesh Foundation has provided knowledge for dealing with many medical conditions in space.
A great example of plasma technology used for peaceful process is the capturing of the USA drone over Iran in December 2011. This drone was touted as one of the most advanced drones of its day, and was caught by Iran using plasma to disrupt the communications. Plasma absorbs fields, and the drone uses radio fields for piloting, a natural aspect of the plasma, a barrier of fields.
Book 2, The Structure of the Light, was released in 2011. This book brought forward the understanding of the structure of light as a cylindrical plasma where the light is in possession of all magnetic field strengths. Book 3, The Origin of the Universe, was published later in 2011. Mr. Kesh explained the further operation and interaction of different strengths of the same fields, which then leads to the creation of the universe. These 3 books bring forward a much deeper understanding of the plasma science that is applied worldwide by knowledge seekers and scientists in spaceship research and development.
There were 2 conferences to release the space technology to governments in 2012. The first international presentation in April, Kesh Foundation invited representatives of every country to the first presentation of the plasma technology. The second international presentation in September, Kesh Foundation invited the nations of the world through their ambassadors and their leaders to attend a gathering at the Kesh Foundation Center in Nenove, Belgium.
Space travel requires peace. The implementation of the plasma technology brings greater responsibility. In 2013, Mr. Kesh brought forward the World Peace Treaty. Signing of the Peace Treaty is a confirmation from yourself to your soul to act correctly in a peaceful manner.
In 2014, knowledge seekers came together from around the world to learn from Mr. Kesh, and many different experiments with reactors were performed, including improving the previously developed reactors to fit with the new knowledge, introduction of nano-coated reactors, multi-core GANS systems. The Spaceship Institute lab experiments were streamed live on the internet for all to see. SSI lab tests with reactors showed strong magnetic field pulses up to 129 Tesla and showed significant weight fluctuations. In December, an experiment was performed using reactors built by knowledge seekers from around the world. Italy, Germany, and Canada were involved in field communication tests. The tests showed that fields can interact with each other no matter the distance or time, resulting in instant communication.
In 2015, developments for space continued with different aspects of the plasma technology, such as in health, energy, and decontamination. In October of 2015, Mr. Kesh taught a popular week-long course called the Blueprint Teachings about how to build the MAGRAV power units. People from all over the world participated with building their own MAGRAV units and teaching others. With the demand of the Kesh Foundation products from all over the world, a new research center and manufacturing opened in Arizona, USA. Many developments of the technology happened in different parts of the world, and Kesh Foundation USA is no exception. John and the team started performing experiments using different sensing tools. These tools allowed the team to visualize the MAGRAV fields and to show others their interactions. With reactor formations showing positive results, partaking in the knowledge together is easier and more joyful than ever. The fun has just begun, says MT Kesh.
Mr. Kesh publicly teaches the space technology through the weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. Plasma enthusiasts from around the world participate in gathering the knowledge and putting the puzzle together in the space race. All people, irrespective of race, nation or religion, are invited to participate in the exchange of knowledge, thus assisting humanity to live within the ethos of the universe. It is recognized that international cooperation and peace is a prerequisite for mankind to journey into deep space. Individuals and nations are invited to come together in the spirit of collaboration and unity to enable peaceful application and the use of plasma technology for space travel, food, agriculture, energy, transportation, health and more. We are excited to release the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Blueprint to humanity.
Welcome back to the teaching, and as I said, we finished our work in China and we are back onto teaching live, and from now on we try to stick to this kind of teachings because it brings a lot of dimensions, new understanding, and it brings a lot of realities than just being a voice on the box. As I travel.
Excuse me, Mr. Kesh, can you adjust the microphone down
Yes.
toward your throat more instead of in your mouth?
Yes, no problem. I can put it on the floor if you want. And so we start teaching directly, and it'll be very much back to the way we used to teach in Trani in Italy, that we present technologies live. You will see units, discussions, and in a way, technologies you've never seen. I try to explain more and more in what actually we need to do, what we have to do to be able to break through to the next level of a scientific acknowledgement and to the research. The reason I asked for this tape to be played because it literally covers everything that we have said, everything that we wanted to discuss, and everything that we could imagine we have. Let's go back to the original of the teaching. The original of teaching was, can you remove that please? Yeah. The original of teaching was very simple. We started with matter state, which is close entanglement. If you look at this, still there's a space gap, but it's tightly controlled. We came to what we call separation of these atoms, as we talked many times. Then we came to understanding of the individual atoms as they are. We have progressed to a point that now we use the magnetic fields of these elements. And the process of the new space technology begins here. Whatever we learned was in this to bring us to here. And from now on is where the new teaching starts. We learned in the process that be it an atom, the cell of body of a man, a cell of a plant, or any other thing has a center, what we call the soul, the inner being of, and it controls it. But now, in this process, in this new understanding, we live without and only with plasmatic magnetic fields. This will bring us a totally new concept, new understanding, where up to now, we needed the gases, or we needed the nanomaterial, or we need the matter to create fields and energy, where from now on, we only need the fields of the plasma of the universe to create every dimension. Now that we understand this process is no different than the process of the creation in the universe. In so many ways, this is what you're going to see in the conferences. And this is what is going to be the objective of the new teachings, the new process. In so many ways, we go to the next level, which is simple. We have fields. How do we convert these fields to what we need? We don't have gases with us in the space. We don't have salt water with us in the space. We have no copper and zinc in the space. How do we collect the magnetic field, gravitational field forces of the universe to work for us, to bring us new energies that we can convert these to what we see, what is needed to be? Do you want matter state? Do you want vegetation state? Do you want what we call animal state? Or you want to come to the level of the creator? Now, this new technology brings us to this level, brings us to this new understanding, brings us to the totality of the work of the universe. Man becomes, with a new knowledge, independent of what he knew and what he knows up to now. How do we attract these energies? How do we bring these magnetic fields together to give us the possibility and the chance to be able to survive, to replicate, to accumulate, to make a new cycle of life in the space? To what extent are we going to extend the knowledge? In what limitation we accept to be the limit that we can understand? Or we make the knowledge of universe unconditional, limitless, and depending on the intelligence of the man. It comes back to the original teachings. Where did everything started from? What are these fields? How do we know how we can absorb? And how do we know we can emit from what we absorbed? That in the interaction of the two, we can create what we need. I think if you understood the original teachings when we had people who went and started creating matter, we noticed there is a need for a new dimension of understanding, a new possibility of work, a new way to be able to create anything at any point. You need 3 field forces to be able to reach the point of creation. At any point, at any destination in the universe, even comes to be the skin of the man. In the skin of the man, to have, you need 3 layers for it to manifest itself, to give the possibility of the life to man. We call it the top layer, the middle layer, and the bottom layer. But if you look in the space, we need to bring three field forces, which in fact, they have a common denominator, energy or magnetic field strength. And then in the interaction of one with the other, we can create the entity, the material, the energy, even create the dimension of the strength of the soul of the creator. Now you understand the game has changed. In so many ways, up to now, we looked at what we can release and how we can create nanomaterials, how we create gases, and what they can do. But now we learn a new way. Whatever we've done up to now has been one of the three needed.
Excuse me, Mr. Kesh, can you move the microphone away from the mouth a little bit more?
You want me to put it on the floor, I said?
Well, it's we're getting a lot of spitting back.
Okay, no problem.
That's better, thank you.
Okay, so now we learn, up to now, all the teachings have brought us to this. To be able to survive in the space, we need two more. And if we can bring these two together with what we already know, then we truly become the man of space. One thing for fact is, we need the fields of the universe. Without it, we cannot operate. It's a framework, it's the cage, it's the field forces which dictates how, in totality, the whole three manifest themselves. If you look at it, that's the skin of the man, the top layer. You have to have a condition of the environment that you can manifest yourself within its structure. You need to understand how these fields of the universe affects and interacts. If you look in the structure of the planet Earth, without the fields of the sun, has no manifestation and no creation. Up to now, we learned about this. Now we learn about this. How do we absorb? How do we identify? How do we classify and how do we replicate these forces? Then it comes one more thing, a field force which is in between the two. Without these field forces, there is no connection, there is no manifestation, there is no point of interaction. The fields of the center of the universe travel billions of kilometers, but they do not show themselves till they reach this state. But in that state, even they reach, they need a mediatory, something that connects the two, matter state to the fields of the universe state. What is the conversion of the matter state or manifestation with what we call the fields of the universe? Without this point, man will never achieve to become the man of space. In the body of the man, we call this the salt. In the presence of the intermediary. In the universe, we call it transition lines. And the transition line has to have a common denominator between the point of birth and the point of manifestation. This is what is to come. This is what we need to learn, and this is what the next generation of the teachings will come. Then, if you understand this, one thing is very easy. I know our American friends in the, what I call military, are well on the line, and they know what we are talking about. To capture a meteorite or an asteroid, you need to understand the gravitational magnetic field, or what we call the inertia. In the language of the communication, we call it whatever frequency you want to put on it. There is no difference between the frequency and inertia. There is no difference between scalar wave and inertia. It's the collection and the separation of the two. In the space technology, what you will see in the coming time is very simple. We create the condition of the center cell, the common denominator. Then, as we do, we encapsulate. Because now is not one separate one, is two as one. And then you have to match in so many ways to the fields of common denominator. You share, you control, you understand, you create motion, and in that process of creating motion, you can create anything you like. Fields, radiation, food, matter state, and everything else. And if you manage to match, you make one single soul out of the two. This is the point. If the man understands, he'll become part of the soul of the creator. Because all these sits within the structure of the creation. But how do you do it? How do you create these fields? And how we show to interact with these fields without the state of matter is what will be done in most of the conferences to come. We keep this part totally out of the domain of the public for security reasons and for lack of understanding of totality, as they do not know and they will not know how to handle the situations to come up. In so many ways, in the present condition which we are heading for, we can manifest the condition of any entity, be it from any part of the universe. You call them Martians, or they come from planet Zeus. This is the time. From now on, we open the door of the interaction with the universal community through the development of the new technology. It's for the governments and the governing states of the Keshe Foundation as Universal Council to start the program to work as one team. We bring the technology, and in the process, with the sharing the knowledge with the governments as governing body, we start the collaboration and the operation of changing the process of the food, the interaction of the materials, and communication. As I said, just at the beginning of teaching today, last time we relied on the governments for 2.5 years. Did not work. We brought the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers. They tried everything. And now the tier is very clear. Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers in conjunction with governments. We govern as one. On the ethos of peace, we share knowledge on the agreement of totality of the peace. As I said in the teaching before, there shall be no more war. We have seen it. We will not allow it to happen. But in that process, we have to create a condition where, as we can dictate the term knowledge and technology, we can dictate the term of peace as one, and in the future to come, as totality of one nation, as one group. So those of you who attend the conferences and the teachings, you become that part which becomes part of the governing body. Some of the conferences in the future will be totally between the Universal Council members and the present running state of governments. The only body which will not accept to negotiate and talk with is United Nations, because there is no unity in United Nations. I have invited, as I said, the American military, the Iranian government, officials, the Russians, the Chinese, and every other person involved, that we show the power of technology. The last week of September in Austria. From then on, we take steps. We share knowledge step by step, and the highlights, the full power of the space development for a space flight will be around 21st of April in beautiful city of Tehran. Thereon, we shall see. The Americans will be present as much as any other nation, and hopefully, by the time we get to this point, they all have worked together, not to be embarrassed that they don't have the same technology. This is the beauty of sharing knowledge and being strong enough to understand we can do it. And at the same time, there are other parameters which come into operation. Magnetic fields of the universe do not travel the way man has thought up to now. The magnetic field of the universe, from point of the inception to the point of interaction and manifestation, is instantaneous. This, for man to understand, is a big revelation. What we see as a depth and the lights of a star in the eye of the man, and we see all together, is because we carry the gravitational magnetic field, the strength of the star in our body, because in common denominator, we were all created from the same fields coming from the center of the universe. On the other hand, the fields which come from other universes, from different strengths, which create other entities in this dimension, are not foreseen by man. We cannot see. In so many ways, in a coming time, when man travels the depth of the universe, will come to understand there are many objects which have no similarity to the structure of the universe and the man, but they have a common denominator, where in fact they are from interaction of the fields of man's universe and the unicos. In so many ways, part of the soul of the man is created from the same source. And in so many ways, the totality of the forces, as you see, and the fields, all come from one direction. And that's the soul of the Creator. And in the same way, it shines in all directions. But how do we create? How to be absorbed, and how we change these conditions? To what extent we can? To what parameters we do? And in what strength of the fields, which you already know as ganses or matter state, you can deliver these technologies. Let's go back to the teaching. As we said, the most powerful fields try to make contact with the smallest fields. And in a way, if we look, the process is very much telescopic. In that process, this be the soul of the Creator, this is the soul of the universe, soul of the galaxies, soul of the what we call solar systems, and then it comes to soul of the planet, and there we are, the soul of the man. So all of us have one common denominator together. And in so many ways, this common denominator is where man will find return path. In the teachings of the books, we call these the principle. We have called these one by one the transition, because each one has led to the manifestation of one thing at the point of their manifestation. And if you look, the only way that the universe can show its manifestation is by interaction of the field forces of its internal section with the light of the Creator. In the galaxy, to what we call manifest itself, now not only you have the fields of the universe, but you have the interaction of the guidelines of the Creator's fields. So we see, if you understand this and go into subatomic and a nuclear base, something very interesting. Even the soul of the atom has a line of creation. If we understood this part, then we see there is for everlasting continuity in this. In so many ways, in this position, this line will carry on. Man and atom is not the final point. A nucleus, neutron is not the final point. This is the point we see. As if you were a galaxy, this is the point you see, universe, solar systems, and the planet. There is more beyond which man needs to understand. In the world of physics, we call it subatomic elements, but in fact, it's a world of creation of its own. If we truly look at the whole point of the creation, and we call this point A, and we consider this totality as a whole lot, and their ongoing, point A from the Creator is somewhere here. There is much more to go, but mankind does not have the intelligence and the knowledge to see, because it's the same as what it's been. We knew about the table and chairs, and then we got to know about metals and everything else, and we got to know about the atom and nucleus and a proton and electron, and now plasma, and we are just about here in the knowledge of the creation. There is a lot more to go. And the more man becomes intelligence and can go down this line, man will find out much more truth, which is in fact the totality of the whole lot. Here somewhere. The totality of the whole lot goes back to the Creator. It becomes so small that itself, it becomes the center focal point of the line of the principle, the creation point of the Creator. If you understood this and you worked on some of the plasma technologies, especially the dynamic systems, you understand exactly what I mean. This is not theoretical. A lot of you have worked on this. And in that process, a lot of you know about it. A lot of you created the dynamic center point of your dynamic systems, and you just ignored it. Now you understand how, to what extent, we have covered everything, but you've been blind to the knowledge. And what is to come is literally what we do. We create a new dimension, a new parameter, a new understanding, and that understanding in so many ways will manifest itself, that from now on, we become the creator of any states, be it submatter, subatomic, subnucleus, even sub-creator. The totality of the knowledge has been taught. It's now for knowledge seeker to decipher it. And in so many ways, in the process of what we call organizing everything, we come to understand a new total understanding, a totally new comprehension of where and how, and from now on, we go back to where we came from. But how do we extend this knowledge? It doesn't fit. In so many ways, what is important for us is to understand the concept, to understand the principle behind the concept, to understand that the process of creation is mutually reversal, and one cannot exist without others. How we will fit this into our knowledge in a coming time is one of the most important parts of our work. How do we actually come to understand more and more in the understanding of totality? Fields of the universe always travel in a very systematic way. The only time we see frequency in it is when the plasma comes in interaction with lower state of matter as it tries to penetrate. In so many ways, the fields of the universe are monoenergetic, both in gravity and magnetical, and in them they carry what we know as 1G in the center. I have taught this before, and you understand very clearly. You see frequencies not in plasmas. You see frequencies in a step down in the field strength of the plasmas. Call it matter state, call it field state. If you understand this, you can move very fast to the next step of knowledge and creation of every other matter in the universe. It's the man who dictates where the vibration will be. And that vibration shall be stone, gold, food, or honey. Or if you can go above it, you come to the strength of the soul of the Creator. So what it comes to is part of what we saw very much with the work of Peter. He created the fields, and then he dictated the strength of the frequency. The rains, whatever you like. But in the space, how do you manipulate these? How do you stop the fields of the universe that in the interaction and their motion lead to creation of the condition that in interaction with the lower fields leads to creation of matter state of whatever you want to call it, be it soul of the man, be it material of the man. The technology of understanding the work of the universe is to understand how man can interfere with the mono-energetic fields of the universe and understand which field is flowing in which direction. And if you develop further in the understanding, it's very simple. You create a condition that you become both sides. This is the soul of the man. This is the radio with a power supply with two cables, one to feed and one to send back what is added to. This is, for example, why a lot of you have a problem with the maggraph systems. You have not understood that the maggraph system are a point of conversion of one to the other and what you can take from. The fields of the universe in their interaction with the other fields might show some signs of resonance, some signs of what you call frequency. But then you have to find out what is happening in this point of the resonance and the frequency. What has manifested itself that you cannot see. The universal fields are like motorways. One flies opposite to each other with a space gap. And in so many ways, if you introduce, for example, another field from another dimension into it, then you come to the point of manifestation of the new fields, new strength, new dimension, which is, as I said, a combination of the three. So, if you understood, you only need one field, one unified field to create everything you need. Because if you understood, you can take the field, create point of interaction, and let it go back. That's your two fields. And then if you are clever enough, understood the rest of it, what is used here can be used as a third field. So any single force, any single magnetic gravitational field force is in fact the source of life on its own, singularity of the existence in the dimension of the creation. You're on planet Zeus, you create condition of planet Zeus. You're on Mars, you create condition of Mars. With one field, you can create that condition. So in the universe, in the work and understanding of the technology, man comes to one thing, unified field theory that in totality, by introduction of the condition, in this introduction, it creates a feedback that it keeps the two, and what is inside has been used, can be used itself as one, that it leads to manifestation of any entity at any strength. But in the body of the man, this point of interaction is called the soul of the man. So through the absorption of the fields of the universe through the soul of the man and the feedback of it, man can manifest itself in any dimension at any point, anywhere in the universe. As the focal point, the central point is the soul. In fact, if you speak the language of children, if I throw water from a hose pipe, the water will carry on to go as far as it goes till it hits the wall and it comes back. Then we know there is a wall. But at the same time, this wall, as it splashes back, it retains some of the energy of the water. So in fact, it dictates what goes back and what it absorbs. In so many ways, the soul of the man is that wall, is that process. And it only needs the light and the field of the creator by interaction with itself to manifest itself as any entity anywhere in the universe. Absorb it in the strength of the universe, you shall make a universe. Absorb it in the strength of the soul of the man, you'll manifest the man. As simple as that. Then you understand why the earth is the nursery of the souls of the universe, not only this planet. As energy converted and at the strength of, it becomes the creation of its own strength. As we said, when you look from outside, the soul of the man is the same as the soul of a star. It creates its own planets, its own living entities, and its own dimension. In the space travel, we change the soul of the man to the soul of the captain, or the one who accepts the totality of the responsibility of the lot for those who like to go picnic together. Now, your job is, or part of the Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers work is, how to control, to understand this conversion system. What we call the soul of the man, or what we call the reflector of the soul of the creator. There is nothing in between the man and the creator, except the lack of understanding of the man of his own potential. The stars, the galaxies, and everything in between is the interaction of the fields of the condition of the universe. The soul of the man is a universe on its own in the interaction of the soul of the creator. There cannot be any other way if the man doesn't understand, unless he needs others to confirm his own existence. Then, do we need the spaceship? Do we need the galaxies? And do we need everything else to return back to our creator? In the process of the conferences coming up, we teach this process. Gradually backwards. Completion for a full flight system promised 21st of April in the beautiful city of Tehran. Those of you who follow the conferences, step by step, will gather the information to be able to complete. Then, as I said, Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers, as a force on their own, as a what we call one nation, scientists in balance with the world governments. And as we carry the lot, we become one. Any questions? If you have not lost in the maze of the fields of the Creator.
It's been very hard to hear, Mr. Pesh. You hear every breath that you take, but the words are hard to hear with the muffled.
Can you hear it better now?
No, you need to adjust the microphone at your throat, not your mouth. Don't aim it at your mouth.
As low as it goes.
Okay, that's much better when it's low like that. We're not hearing as much of the popping and breathing and so on.
Okay, let us change. Just let me change. Let me change something else.
Yeah, if you can get the muffler thing on, that would help as well.
I'm getting muffled. Is that okay?
Oh, that is
100% better.
way better.
Somebody stole my cap.
Okay, well, that helps a lot. So if you want to just restart the whole teaching, just kidding.
No problem. Start from the beginning.
What if any of our attendees have a question here in the Zoom, they can
start from here.
Thank you. That was exactly what we needed. The fast version.
That was a fast forward. So you understood.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, we have a hand up here with Dean. Dean, do you have a question? You should be able to go ahead there now.
Hi, Mr. Kesh, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. It's Dean from the UK. My question is, if you decide to go back to the creator, can you re-manifest instantly anywhere else? Or once you go, is that it?
Of course you can, because it's a dynamic flow. But do you think you'll get there? You want to come back? Or you become like the sun? You'll be pushed back because the other's weaker than you, want the energy that you carry.
Okay.
You see, the beauty of it is that when we have such a point of a strength and such a point of the weak, is not the strong which dictates the position of the weak. Is the weak which gives the confirmation to the existence of the strong. So we won't hear these anymore. I don't know if you heard it. We just had a fighter plane crossing. So very soon they cannot fly. It'll be good for testing for children to play. So in so many ways, when you become weak enough, the creator puts the whole of energy of what it needs to balance you, that you become one. So you're part of the one. You see, you couldn't hear me, it means the mankind was not ready to hear the truth. So you have to listen very carefully with all the noise in the background, as you said, muffled, that you might hear the what I call the knowledge of the universe that you can carry on. And in this process, that's what it is. When the light, the energy, the fields of the creator comes to enlighten the soul of the man, in giving so much, it becomes part of the man with the soul of the creator as one. This is how the universes expand. The expansion of the universe comes from this principle. As the energies and the fields move further, and the strength of the soul of the creator tries to reach them, it creates a new dimensions and the new universes in this new dimension. This is how the creation comes to about. This is the true essence of creation. It's very much, you know, when man start moving from fields to fields, and we went to villages, and then we expanded the villages, and it became too many, and we were not happy with being in one village and the rest of it. So what did we do? We went, I managed to lose my pictures, no problem. So what do? We started with a few in a village. The number grew, somebody moved out, and then it became more people, and they moved out, and then the villages connected together, it became town and cities. And then these towns grew, they made nations. And then we made the planet. It's the same thing with the process of the creation. When you have the soul of the creator, and you have the fields which travel away from it as it radiates, now it tries to embrace it. And embracing it, it gets to the point of what we call a caption. And it opens up new dimensions to hold on to, that they radiate more and more. So this is how the expansion of the universe in the total of dimensions of a unicos is created. Read book number 3. You understand this immediately. It's very much, if you look at the unicos and you look at the atomic structure, we started with a hydrogen, 1 electron, 1 proton. And in field interaction, the adding together, it becomes helium and the rest and the rest and the grows. It's the same if you look in the solar system. You had the sun with field radiation and interaction with this environment led to creation of the planet. The same thing is with the creator. Its extension, you call it planetary system, you call it universes, creation of the unicos. But there is a further understanding, is that if an atom had a condition of the environment of the Earth to show itself as a hydrogen, if the solar system had a universe, or what I call the galaxy to show its manifestation, what does creation of the creator as a unicos shows itself to? I'll put this question many times. What you got to look at was one fact. Is the soul of the man that dust which confirms and is the center of the soul of the creator? Do we need to go out of it to confirm the existence of the creator, or are we so much in it that we create the existence of the rest? If it's made in the image of, it must be part of. Now, did the chicken come first or the egg? Did the soul of the man come first or the soul of the creator? Or is it all the same? Has the understanding of the man reached to the limit that they can understand the truth? Or he's still looking for that soul above somewhere that it controls his physicality in different names by different abusers? There is no abuse in the work of the creator. Any other question?
Mr. Kesh, it's Dean again. I think the reason is that we've got so used to being abused that it's difficult to realize that there is another way.
Maybe possible. But who allows the abuse and who's the abuser?
So we do a lot of it to ourselves.
I'll leave that to you.
Thank you.
Any other question?
There was a question from Facebook from Chi Adams.
Is Facebook still going? I thought they're closing everyone's account.
Not everyone yet. Who says, are there 3 elements needed for manifestation?
3 fields are needed for manifestation. 3 fields, or what you call 3 conditions, are a prerequisite to confirmation of the existence. Does not matter if you look at it as a physical dimension, as a sound, as a light, or whatever.
And you've mentioned 3 layers of the skin as well as being important. Both are for the skin of the man and the skin of the spaceship.
Yeah, and the skin of the creator. Do you want to see his skin? It's very
yeah.
thick.
Let's have some examples of that. That would be great.
You see, we have to understand the one concept, one principle, and then you will see it fits into everything.
She goes on to say, so the expansion of the universe is knowledge.
Where does the knowledge come from? The expansion of understanding and intellect is the knowledge, not the universe. Those of you who come close to understand the technology and the knowledge in its true meaning, you'll come to understand one simple principle, and that is us who puts limitation on understanding of our own existence and the existence of our, what we call, environment, and what we may know and what we may not know, what we call the true life. The true existence is not the physicality of the body of the man. The true existence is understanding the totality of the work of the universe. And in that process, we can do many, many things. Many, many things. There is a reminder in the background that tomorrow at 2:30 Central European Time, we have teachings for some scientists and some delegations in the city of Kerman in Iran as part of the knowledge seeker teaching in Farsi and presentation of the what we call discussion on the development of the technology. It'll be in the Persian language, and if some of you are Iranians or understand or we want to be part of it, you can join in that part. We will, if you send a request, we'll give you the link to come in to listen. It'll be mainly to do with agriculture and other aspects of the technology with the southern city of Kerman. It's one of the districts of Iran. I teach extensively in Iran in Farsi in the past few months, as in the past they did not have access to share of knowledge, and it was all in different dimensions. So if you want to join, it's a specific teaching in a very prestigious teaching center, conference center in Tehran or in Kerman. and then it will be part of the totality of the teaching internationally. As we bring governments, I'll be preparing everything for what we call conferences and the final meeting in Tehran in early next year or mid next year. Any other question?
We have a question on the YouTube from Jan. Question: 3 layers with different strength are needed, but all 3 of the same state, or 2 are in the state of GANs fields and the 3rd field in a weaker state of nano?
You can choose any. Let's see what's the outcome. There is no limitation. What about one in the state of the matter? What about one in the state of submatter? If you look at the logo of the KFSSI, especially the Spaceship Institute, this has a beautiful meaning. It's done by the Iranian physicists when they developed the Spaceship Institute logo. And in so many ways, when you look at the star in the middle or the circle in the middle, that is the soul of the creator. It's the beginning of the beginning. And it depends where you stand from and near to, and in any direction, there is nothing but field. As I said before, when this logo was designed in the total understanding of the, not only physicality, but the dimension of the soul of the man by the Iranian physicist. So if you see it on the logo, we have a center, we have an arrow, and we have a bigger circle and a very bigger circle, 1 arrow and a stars. And then you have the cloud, which is the dimension of the, what we call the galaxies. The dimension where the manifestation appears depends where you are on it. This is a very true meaning of the logo of the spaceship, because in the space that's what we are. Where do we go, in which direction, and in what position, in which stars we pass, and where do we want to manifest ourselves, at which strength. And if you look at it, this is your spaceship. And this is the direction of the flight. We got to decide on the strength, we got to decide on the purpose, we got to decide on what extent we want to go, we want to expand. Do we want to expand in knowledge of creating, or do we want to expand in the knowledge of understanding? Or do we want to expand in the direction of the field force of the universe? Now everything is in one pot. In the coming time, we'll show you how we can take the energy, and then from the same energy we shall make meat, from the same energy we shall make trees, from the same energy I shall make what you call magnetic field of whatever you like and whatever you want. From the same field, depending on the condition which we create for it in that box.
Mr. Kesh, Lawrence has a question here in the Q&A. Does present science call the 3 expressions of the fields the 3 types of neutrinos? And is the K40 with its beta decay the source of the neutrino pepper? You mentioned salt and pepper, I think, in the previous workshop.
It's a good story. Why K40? The strength of the K, what we have in K40, we have in helium in the same condition. We have the same thing in argon at the lower strength.
Is there something in your teaching that would correspond with this idea of what science calls a neutrino?
What is a neutrino? It's an energy pack which has not found its strength to manifest itself to interact with. I call it Ricino, I call it Bonzino, whatever you want to call it. That's all it is. It's an energy which we hope somewhere will slow down, that we see it. It's not a neutrino, it's one single energy pack. And when it hits, it'll divide, it'll create, it'll manifest itself as a photon or whatever they might want to do it. Neutrino might be another being when it lands in the pool they're trying to detect it.
Could this be a source of energy for a reactor setup?
It is.
Captures...
It is. If you hit a wall with a ball, you release some energy. The ball is a neutrino and the wall is the pool they're trying to detect it. This is what's... Pardon?
They say there's like billions of neutrinos passing through every square centimeter of us from the sun alone.
Have they managed to measure it? They never detected. How can you say how
well,
many?
They say it just passes right through everything because they're so small.
So they never detected it. It could be one single one, we're all in it. Do you understand? We are up to now, up to today, no neutrinos have been detected, as far as I know, in the books of the science.
I don't know if they have, I think they have neutrino detectors, actually. We're trying to
they
look
built huge water pools under the ground, deep in the old mines, and they're still waiting till the cows come home.
They see a little flash and they think that that's might be it and so on.
But we haven't seen the flash as such, because that's another reduction of energy. It's random shooting.
Well, this is the idea. We were talking about this in the plasma group yesterday, and the idea that in water, for example, has this thing of self-ionization, that the water molecule every 20 hours or so just separates, but only for a very brief moment, then it comes back together again. But we were thinking it's caused by the interaction of these neutrinos and the occasional atoms that get hit by them.
No, that is a different principle. The separation of the atoms of the water is because the two oxygens are fed by the hydrogen, and the hydrogen continuously releases energy, but it's got the gravitational magnetic bond with all two. So as it releases its energy in a way of magnetically, the space gap increases. And then it goes back together. That's all it is. We know this process for a long time. So people who don't understand it, then they read all sorts of things to it. You understand? Hydrogen is an energy source and is so volatile and so weak that cannot hold on to much energy. And it gets charged up. And to a point of charge, it has to release, otherwise the water breaks up. All it does is like you blow a balloon up and then you retract it back again. This blowing up of energy is what it comes from the hydrogen. This process I understood decades ago. And that's why water always stays molecule as it is. And then this is one of the reasons how this goes back together and what field dictates it. It gives you sweet water or salt water, the sea waters or the sweet water in the rivers when you take the salt away. This process has a very direct effect to the salination availability in the environment where the molecule is. I've solved this problem 20, 25 years ago, more. When we start looking at the heavy waters for nuclear reactors, slowing down, and why the waters are heavy and what we call a heavy water, and the rest of it is actually an automatic system of fluctuation of the fields. This hydrogen gas field, these two are always the same. And this creates a field force as it absorbs that it's just going to explode. These two absorb the energy, but in that process, they create a distance and they go back together again. And if you understand this in a very simple way, you do not need heavy waters for nuclear reactors and proliferation in the backbone of the process of what we call nuclear development. They can do it much easier. You can create a heavy water much easier than what is processed now. If you go back into the history of nuclear technology and how we became to become part of this is part of the history of a nuclear industry, how we became to separate and reach what we call enrichment to purify and take certain uranium particles out, and then you come to enrichments and to the fields you need. What we call proliferation centrifuge was a brainchild of an English physicist, a young graduate from Cambridge. And she was secretary to a committee which were trying to build the first nuclear bomb. And it was done by invitation only to this group when she was appointed to be the secretary, but she was a physicist and she did her degree in gas separation system. And while she was sitting as a secretary in the meeting, where all these top men, scientists, physicists could not understand how they can separate the U-235 and the rest so easily. But she said, why don't you use the centrifuge the way we do in the gaseous state? And she is the mother, the creator of what we know as nuclear proliferation today. Unknown scientist. And if you go into the newsreels, you read about her life. She became the granny spy in 2015 court cases because she was in earlier stages of 1930s when they were trying to develop 1940s when they developed the new nuclear technology. She was involved in the movement at that time of the communist. She was affiliated, not affiliated, but she was friended by these people, and she was put under pressure that the Americans in a way, they stole all the technology from everyone, from the Canadians, the British, and the rest, as let's work together to find the material, the nuclear material, that we can fight the Germans and we can fight the Japanese. And this lady became part of it, part of this organization, but in her inside, being part of it and being connected to the through friendship with the man in Russia, she passed a lot of proliferation technology to the Russians from the British development. Americans managed to develop their own nuclear. When they gathered everything, They kicked the Canadians out, they kicked the British out, they kicked the Russians out. They went on their own, and they managed to make the first, what we call the Hiroshima bomb and the rest of it. Nobody could read the ignition point. This lady understood the process, and the British were very hard at it to become the next one after the, what we call the Americans. But with the intelligence she gave to the Russians through her boyfriend or whatever, she had a very straightforward mentality that if everybody will have the nuclear technology, nobody will use it. And she shared the knowledge with the Russians, and the Russians managed to test the bomb before the British do. And then they started looking for the spies who passed the knowledge to the Russians. And she did a deal with the British intelligence, with the man who was the head of the research in Britain, and they both were put on a ship to Australia. And years later, around about 2012, 2015, British government, going through the papers, found out that she was the spy who gave all the technology to the Russians, and the Russians made the bomb before the Europeans, but after the Americans. But she was let go because she was in her 90s and she was too old. But as she said in her last press conference, she said, my insight was correct. My intuition was correct, that by sharing the technology with the Russians, it shows history that I created peace, that everybody has the same knowledge. Now nobody uses it. And in so many ways she was correct. And this is so many ways we operate as Keshe Foundation. We split our knowledge across everyone, that nobody will ever use it because everybody has it. Many of people who work in the nuclear industry come to this point of understanding the power is so big that not one nation can hold. Many of my colleagues in the nuclear industry, when we talk, we all have one thing as part of our ethos. It's not that British or the American or the Chinese will be the first, but it's for all to have it, that in having it, it creates a condition of what we call imbalance or balance, that nobody uses it. And in so many ways, her insight in the 1940s was very much in line with what we see. What she did, she proven, history has proven, nobody ever used the nuclear since Hiroshima, but it has created a point of balance that nobody fear of it allows them to use it. This is part of the history of what we call nuclear industry and unknown. Actually, we would have never had the gas centrifuge systems if it wasn't because of this little lady. Amazingly, very gracious and very, what I call, she's a symbol of the, what we call nuclear freedom. People who understand the sharing of the knowledge is the ultimate goal, that we all stay balanced. Read about her life. She has an amazing life as a physicist from England who actually created the peace condition we live on. She's unknown because she decided to immigrate to Canada with the head of the British research group, who was her lover, and then they took everything with them. And nobody knew about it. I think it's called Lord Richmond case, which was brought to the House of Parliament and to, what do you call, the House of Lords, to investigate how the Russians got the knowledge out of British, and it's just because of this one, I believe, one equality. Any other question?
We have someone with their hand up here.
Can I jump in?
Who's that?
I think that's Jalal. Go ahead, Jalal.
Thank you, Rick. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Good day.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
I've been off for a long time.
Good. Mr. Keshe, we see the sun. Let's say the sun is a sender, and we as human, we are a receiver. And we see the actual sun because of our environment. If we change the environment, do we see the sun in different shape?
I'm going to answer you in a very deeper way, if you understand. if you see through the physicality of your eye the existence of the sun, what happened if you look through the eye of the soul of the man? Would you see the creator?
That is my point, Mr. Cash.
That's exactly I answered you.
Okay, next one.
Now, what did you understand? Don't jump off.
Run away, run away.
You see, if the dimension of physicality of the eye of the man will allow the man to see the universe, what about if you look with the stronger part, which is the soul of the man, would you see the soul of the creator? Here, man is always physical. Here, man is a dimension of the creator. So, which one would you like? And now you understand why many times I said, I'm ashamed to be in the body of the man, as my soul sees the soul of the creator. But our work is to make mankind to get the same understanding. Now you understand, I hope.
Yes, Mr. Cass.
Would you still like to see the stars and the sun, or would you like to see the creator of the sun and the stars? Are you happy with the servant or with the master? This is what we teach for man to understand the station of his soul. So your next question.
Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Second question.
You already answered it.
Hi, Mr. Cash.
Hello, who's that?
This is Miguel Moreno from Mexico City.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, I have a question about the teaching that you were giving the information today. I am making different magraphs, and these magraphs are interacting with plasma. But sometimes the plasma has different color. Sometimes the plasma is red, sometimes is purple, sometimes is blue. So my question is, each color that is producing the plasma interacting with the static reactors has a specific meaning. And another thing that I want to tell you, I was be able to make a system to increase the voltage in different force and gives different frequencies. And I was be able to reach a field more than 2 meters from the plasma device.
What do you call a plasma device?
Right now, I made a chamber. This chamber makes scalar waves, but it is interacting with magraph systems because the plasma, I have a plasma ball or a Tesla tower that has a ball in the top, and in the top, I made a static magraph system to interact directly with the plasma that is making the Tesla tower.
Do you understand the process of, you should understand, if you have reached that point and you got to know that you have to change the configuration in your maggraph system.
Yeah, I have another configuration because I am interacting with liquid gas inside of the static reactor. I am making different mixes with different kinds of GANs. Sometimes I am using tritium, sometimes I am using deuterium in different amounts. And the plasma, when I am interacting with a small voltage, the scalar waves are bigger than when I am interacting with high voltage. Let's put an example. I am working with 50,000 volts, but I have a dimmer. So with this dimmer, I am be able to increase or decrease the frequency of the energy. So when the energy is in the smallest amount, the plasma field is bigger. And I am checking also all the information of the Constantine mails. Once time you told me that I needed to understand all about the scalar waves. So I have some time studying the scalar waves. And one thing that has the scalar waves, when they are small, they are more stable. Maybe that is the reason, because when the amount of the energy is not very big, the field is more bigger, more than 2 meters.
Yeah, but you can expand that to the size of the universe.
Yeah,
there is a lot more to understand in this process, and there is a lot need to develop in this process. No one has actually understood the work of the scalar wave, and no one has understood the work of a Tesla in true essence of the work. And when I developed the first stages of it some 30 years ago, it was fundamental to understand zero-time communication is there. You cannot stop because you're part of the same system. There is no resistance. There is no time and space gap. And there is a lot more into that knowledge. And the field, if you understand it, it becomes very, very much deeper than that. This is where what I call, if you understand why Tesla doesn't work, but scalar wave works in a what they call Faraday box. The Faraday box where you set up by Tesla, if you transmit, because it's the highest order, if you look at it, it's thicker, fatter, it cannot go through. You have a sound system. But at the same time, if you have a scalar, because it's of the order of the lesser magnitude in the magnetic field, but a higher order in gravitation, which is more concentrated, it can pass through molecules of any element. That's why Professor Miles says the scalar waves can pass through everything, but not the Tesla waves. As I said, Tesla is the field you send. You start with the biggest source. If you look at it, if this is the matter, that's what they call the space gap, it cannot go through. But when you have the same matter space gap on a gravitational side, when you come to scalar wave, it's already lost its magnetical, so it's totally gravitational and it can go through. Because it fits into the space gap of the metal. You can create a what we call Faraday box with harmonic systems. You don't need to have a material, and you can change it according to what you want. You can reverse the situation. Those of you who work in this field, you should understand very clearly how you can play with this. If you look at the what I call the MAGRAPH system, when I released it and nobody understood, to me, it doesn't matter, the system is made, it's gone, you got your MAGRAPH system. But if you look at it, the MAGRAPH system, in essence, in their creation, in their structure, in their development, are a combination of scalar and a Tesla unit. Nobody has ever understood this. And I explained it last time, or in the last teachings. I said, very simple. You had the picture of Professor Meyer with a picture of Tesla and a picture of me. I said, this understood one, that one, and this guy has brought the two together because he understood the totality.
I have some photographs with the static reactors interacting with the plasma energy directly. I don't know if you want to see it.
You can share it with us.
Rick, I am lifting another hand. Can you send me to the panelist?
He's got both hands up in the air, Rick.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, because I am talking in my telephone and the information I have in my computer.
You know, we're trying to have the next conference in Mexico in
I heard
October. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think he can. He was just transferring to panelists there. There's a communication breakdown. There's the image. We can also see your desktop.
You can see our desktop. Are we still there? Hello, ground to earth control.
Yes, we are still here.
Yeah, I am still here, but my computer is a little bit slow. So wait a moment. It's coming. I'm gonna show you the.
We don't see anything.
It's coming. It's coming. Because my computer is very slow, and I am taking the photographs for my Facebook. Yeah. So just I want to tell you also that the scalar waves are going more further in the walls also. I have like 2 different rooms, and the energy is transpassing the walls.
That is one part of the beauty of scalar waves.
Yeah, and it's important the people that want to interact with this energy. It's important to have a protection in the domestic electric in the electric I can remember the word, with the domestic electric devices. They need to be careful, because with this energy you can damage the TVs and the
what are you trying to show us?
I am trying to open a sphere.
We see the list of your people who you know.
No, this is part of the chamber that I am making.
But we don't see anything. We just see your Facebook with your contacts.
No, it's not the contacts. It's coming a photograph that is making bigger. Let's just be a little bit patient, because it's taking a little bit time, the computer, to open the photograph. It's coming. Can you see it? This is sphere?
No. Oh, something
right
is coming up. Yeah.
Okay. So you can see a sphere inside that is making the function for gravity, and the other one is outside that is making the function for magnetic field. This is a plasma ball that is interacting with 15,000 volts.
Yeah, but let me stop you. This is a plasma ball which you made.
Yes, I made it, but I put a static reactor outside of the ball. And it's attracting all the plasma.
I understand that. But what I'm trying, okay, I understand what you're talking about. And the fields which you see around it is from the interaction of the fields from the environment or another system?
No, it's for the same system. This ball, maybe the size is 30 centimeters, but the fields is more than 2 meters.
2 meters. Yeah, but this ball you have made, what's in it, your plasma system?
It's a coil that works with 15,000 volts.
15 volts, yeah. We know that. We've seen this before. This is something we already know, but how you can go up to 80,000, 150, and 500 volts, 500,000 volts. It just expands the dimension. This we've seen, this is this part of the interaction of the plasma and the field inside. In a way, your plasma ball behaves as a, what do you call, principle.
Okay.
And the dimension of your lights is the field interaction.
Let me explain you how I made the system, because you know how the spark gap works, right?
Yeah.
So to work the spark gap, we need two different points to jump the energy.
The gap, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So what I made here, this is a spark gap function, but one of the electrodes is inside of the ball, and the other part to bring the energy, I made the static reactor with guns inside, because this reactor has pipes also. So I am putting guns inside of the pipe, but in the pipe, inside of the pipe has another coil. So each coil has two different coils.
I understand that. This we know. This is part of what is the manifestation of the field. It's very nice in how you developed it, but this is done nearly 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you create this ball the way you do it. Yeah, I understand. That's very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you indeed.
Thank you to give me the answer. So just one thing, what do you think about the difference? Because I am 3 different reactors, and sometimes they are giving different colors. What is the reason for that?
It's your field strength. You create different spectrums. That's all.
Okay. Okay.
You see it because what you see, especially when you produce ganses, you see these, suddenly the gans changes color, but in effect it's the same material.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that the field strength, it creates different spectrum of light manifestation. It doesn't change much. It's just that it shows your field strength has changed in some cases, and in some cases is the external field in interaction with the GANs, which releases new dimension or new strength of light. You can do this. You see, what you can do, one of the tests which you can do is when you make these balls, yeah, if you can create small balls inside of the ganses of the same proposition or same strength, you will see blue light here, green light here, and different light here inside the ball. While the ball itself is, let's say, is in orange color or whatever color, and suddenly these will change, or suddenly the ball changes. It's the plasmatic light, what they call sequential differentiation in light strength in what you put in the plasma of the GANs. If you just change the slightly salinity of one, you might get a pink color, and if you increase the salinity higher, you might get a red color. Okay. And then what is known as a diamond effect is if the magnetic gravitational frequency of the field strength of one of these lights matches the totality of the frequency of the plasma of the material, then your plasma will show itself as that light. So if this goes green and the green reaches the balance field strength, suddenly you go from purple to green. We see this in the structure of the diamond. In a diamond business, you have a stone, and there is one vapor of one gas, one vapor. And that vapor of the gas changes the stone to, let's say, the pink color. Yeah? And when you give it to a diamond dealer to cut, if he keeps this inside the parameter, you still get your pink diamond. If the cutter makes a mistake and cut this out by mistake, the stone goes white, clear. you lose your pink diamond.
Another thing that I want to tell you, Mr. Keshe,
Yeah.
I have a dream. You were in the dream.
I mean,
And,
many people's dream, that's the problem.
and I was in one of the institutions that you are working on, and you showed me the structure of the logo that you were talking about a few moments ago. The structure was like an atom, but was for metal or different kind of materials. This structure was in the background because we were in an institute, but you were giving classes, so you talk all the students to outside of the building because you had this structure, and this was 4 or 5 months ago. So right now that you were talking about how what means that structure, came to my memories that teaching in my dreams.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Many people tell me they go to sleep with my voice and they have the dream about me. And I said, my soul must be a very busy chap at night. It goes everywhere. Any other question?
We had a question earlier from Jan in the YouTube about, sorry, it's moving around there. Oh, he says, what creates or causes the motion of the field? What causes the movement in the process of creating the potential difference? Intention or desire?
Depends which way you want to move. Are you in a giving mode or are you in a taking mode? Either way, it creates a condition and position. This is one of the parts which we say how you feed your soul. And in one of the teachings before I explained is that you have to be so weak as the strength of the soul compared to the fields of the universe that you get fed by. And at the same time, you have to be strong enough as a source that it can feed the soul of the physicality, as they are weaker in comparison to you, that you by soul can feed. And if man learns this, he can feed himself in the space. In what are you weak is in gravitational. In what you are strong is magnetical. And then if you understood that, you end up with that.
That sort of goes along with what Doug said earlier, almost an hour ago. Is the focused and humble intention to reach a certain destination the key to safe motion, interplanetary, or beyond?
Either way you want to call it. I think when I sit here and look at the sign of the Universal Council, that explains it in totality when you look at that picture. Any other questions?
There was one question from Dor Nem for the UC Hebrew. in the Q&A. This is the way I understood it. He says, if one man can reach the point of peace with the Creator, everything between those strengths in man's universe will balance accordingly in between. Is it correct?
More or less. It's what we call when you find peace. Having peace, it means having a balance. And that's what it is. That's all it is. Any other question?
Lauren says another tech question is the spectrum field effect, the plus or minus 10% of the ganses created by the process of beta and inverse beta decay.
Nothing to do with beta decay. It can be alpha as well as much as gamma and plus cosmic rays. You have to add then into the cosmic rays to become, which we never counted. Does the universal rays come into it? Because they affect, they penetrate. If you have neutrinos for the planet, you were trying to find out, some of these neutrinos come from other universes, which crossing the whole span of the universe, getting to us, they still have enough energy that they still don't reveal themselves and they go through us. If you understand the position of the planet Earth on the edge of the, what we call, the galaxies the other way, if you want to look at it, we are somewhere here. Getting pulled further into one of the arms. And if you look at it, if this is the edge of the galaxy, we receive more fields from universe than the planet or solar system or the stars which are more inside. Because when you get to the center of the galaxy, it's more or less unified. Most of the fields are absorbed by the galaxy as a total structure. So part of the human evolution, part of the evolution of the life in this part of the universe, which we are part of, is created by the fields which they come from the universe. And part of the cancers which we face is this position. As we go further into the funnel of the solar system, or what you call the galaxy, the Milky Way, we become more immune to it because layers and layers more, we become more interacted, become more stable conditions. So in part of the, what you call, they call neutrinos, we are looking for is what the fields have already come from the universe and part of the fields which come from the galaxy. And they affect us. They surely affect us. We know, for example, it's a well-known fact, but we don't talk about it. If you have lived on the surface of the planet, where at the point of the massive explosion on the surface of the sun, you've been facing the interaction of these fields, we see a massive increase in certain diseases at the point of interaction of the solar system with the flare. Depending what this solar flare has done. In the world of electronics or communication, we say they turn the satellites because the fields are so strong it can damage the satellites. But at the same time, these fields create human amino acid, or what we call DNA change. We suddenly see years down the line, a lot of cancer suddenly in this region, specific cancers, and nobody knows. We don't see it any other places. And if historically we go back on it, we'll see it times with the time of one of the large flares. A very, very large percentage of the human cancer at this moment of time comes from the interaction of the fields of the environment, which sun has a direct effect on. And then when this cancer is gone, this series of people who got damaged, you don't see that cancer in that environment because it's not there, it's finished. It was one off. It's just like you faced the Hiroshima in one go, you create the cancer and that's it. But the guys behind you on the other side of the earth, they never went there. They said there is suddenly huge cancer or different defects in the population. We got to understand, if you can hit a satellite and create damages, you can imagine what it does with the soft tissue of the body of the man. Very simple. These are what you call neutrinos. When they embed themselves in there, some of it pass through you. And it depends on that time, what was the gravitational magnetic field shielding of the Earth in that respect at this point. Many, many cancers are caused by the flares of the sun. We never understood because we cannot relate it. But now we know we can relate it, we can understand it. And it's very simple with the systems we build to reverse that energy back out. These are energy systems, energy cancers, which are unknown, but we see in rare cases. You don't see elevation in any material, but you see cancer because the mutation has taken place. We have the same kind of cancers from the ingress from the center of the Earth. Earth is not monoenergetic, it creates different. If you look at, for example, the gravitational field of the Earth, which is published every day, it has a funny shape, it's not a spherical. And what happens if you're here at that time and the burst of energy, because of a chain of events inside, hits you? We are open to a lot of fields. And when we see sudden increase in some conditions, we go back and check the environmental and the condition at the point, you'll see why. We are part of a living, live process. Next question.
Okay, we have a couple of more questions here. Andreas asks, he would like to know, what is the task or effect or role of crystals or diamonds on our planet? Thank you.
Nothing, it's just a formation. What is the task of carrots and tomatoes? It's just what it forms, and it's there. They create, the conditions create crystals.
Okay, Nikolai has a question that came up in the plasma group as well yesterday. He says, Mr. Kesh, you said something in one of your recent teachings of the last few weeks that gave me great pause. You said you have 22, you said you have 22 here. Sorry, there's a lot of noise right now at the microphone there, Mr. Kesh. You said you have 22 here, and 22 here, and 22 here, and another 22 here. And if you add it up, you get 88. And the Chinese call that a lucky number. Test it. This led me to think of the amino acids in the body of the man. if we have 22 amino acids in the body of the man, are you suggesting that what we need to do is to position 4 beings in a star formation and to remove the baggage of the collective emotions to the point where these 4 beings can attune to a central focal point of the vehicle and become as one in this way? Would it then be possible to tune the group attention into a place where the 4 would like to arrive and travel as a group in this formation?
We've said many, many times, if you can find the 4 souls of equal strength or equal common denominator strength, you can create that elusive ship or object or position or a school of thoughts. Doesn't need necessarily to be a spaceship. You see, traditionally, if you look at some of the structures which is left behind centuries ago, you always see this. Or in some cases is hidden in other structures. This is where the men used to stand and the sentiment. And then you'll see what you have created, star formation. And they hide it beautifully in 12 positions. If you go and look at the places, the structures, what we call very much like we see it around the world, centuries and thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, this is the structure. You create a star formation. And with this, you can create the protection. And if you can understand this, and you can create the right combination in a way, then you see what happens. You have the 12. And with the 12, you create what is known as, if I can draw it for you, a 3-dimensional effect of what we call they themselves, with the 4th one, read to creation of the essence of the creator. You got a lot to learn. And the totality, or if you like, depending on which soul you have a strength in, becomes the manifestation. These kind of structures used to be used as what we call the castles of that time. Is where you were protected, where the priest or the people who had a clear soul would take their positions. If you look at many, many historical buildings, which very much, we call it like a Stonehenge, you see this. Nobody ever understood this. The man stands in the configuration of 12. And then you have the holy priest, the purified man, who stands in the center, where each group in the strength are connected to him. And according to their strength, they used to create what we call the shielding effect. And through theirs, what it goes to the next step of understanding is the creation of the dimension of the soul that they could see and become in touch with the universal community. It's a very specific, in time I'll teach you this. Man is not ready for this yet. Another few decades, maybe sooner. If you look at the structure of the Stonehenge, this is what it does. Man of higher strength in holding, understanding, what we call pure souls which are givers take the center point. They can protect. And then the next layer. This is what I say, if you listen to the teaching of Universal Council, will recognize the members of Universal Council by the strength of their soul, and they are not elected. Because when the time comes, those who take the seat of Universal Council, as you were listening last week, maybe makes it much more clearer to you what it is. As the circles of the 12 members of Universal Councils take position, you create these rings, you create more dimension. And then as a soul in the center of the 12 as totality, you create the protection for the human race in the depth of the universe. Now you understand why we set up the Universal Council the way we have. If you bring the picture of the seat of the Universal Council, is on this basis, because we are far ahead of you. So we cannot explain to you. Maybe it's time to explain today. When we set the Universal Council, you'll find unknowingly Universal Council members of the 12 seats of the Council will choose of their strength. That's why we brought different languages in, because they support, they strengthen it. And then, as you have seen in the work of the systems before, you get your 12, and then you have your 12s, which creates the next step. Then this makes the soul of the humanity. And then this protects, reaches the whole of the universal community where the soul of the man in a common denominator exists. You will understand this very soon. That's one of the reasons we have not made a specific seat for specific people. Even the travelers of the universe who are here, they can have a seat, because through the creation light of creation, they feed that, they extend. The more you have, the further you can extend. But the most purest will sit in the center of the four. And then you create. This is the only reason. If you look at the structure of the Universal Council, and if you look at the, whatever structure you've seen, is what we brought before, but man could not understand. Now you understand. Men, according to their strength, will take the seat in the Center Council. You'll find that in the future, suddenly one of the members moves to the position, because that position is needed, and they just move back. For that purpose, depends what's the discussion on the soul of the understanding of the council, what is need to be understood. They bring the strength, because then they can create the direction. Zero-time communication. You have crisis in corner of the universe, and you have human races which are there. They don't send you a message. It's zero time, the soul of the man. This man who's responsible for this and the strength of his creation can link, take position. You have a lot to learn yet. That's why the soul of the, as I said, no members of the Universal Council ever be elected. Is elected by the soul of the man on the strength of what he can deliver, because this is what it is. Now you understand, again I say, why we create all these dimensions with the four. Always look for the center. The center usually sits the holy man, the purest of the pure, is the seat of the creator, or the collective, the soul, creates that position. This is used in depth of the space by creatures to create protection in the time of trouble. You come to a huge magnetic field, survival is incomplete. You create these. You stand by your soul, not by your physicality, and you create a condition. Man will be tested. It's not by your physical dimension. That's why we teach about the soul of the man. And this is the reason we set up the Universal Council and this structure. If you look, the core team has the same characteristics. Does not matter if they physically left the core or they are in the core or they die. The soul has already taken a position. It's a sacrosanct, cannot be changed. The same, if you look, we have strengthened it because of the condition of the work of the man to the Earth Council. very tight. The Earth Council is the most purest you'll get on this planet. And through them, you'll find what is needed to absorb. Totality, singularity, reaches the level of the creation of the soul of the man. When the Earth Council meets, you sit with the Creator as a level of the mankind. When the Universal Council sits in true meaning, sits at the level of the Creator in the level of the universe. The core team has totality of the all. Everything we put down has a meaning and a reason. When you're mature enough, we explain. And maybe, as I said last week, now you understand the purpose of the 12 seats of Universal Council. You take 12 purest soul of Universal Council in the center core to what we call Stonehenge. And if they stand in a correct way, you shall see the soul of the protection. Because it was used that way. There are many places which they were taught in the old time what it is, and they abide by it. You know, the 12 nights comes from this. Because mankind could not understand what it means. Now you understand. And if you look, always sits. In so many ways, Star of David was created very much similar to the Earth Council, but it was not understood. It lacked the understanding. The sixth leg is the soul of the collective. A long, long way for you to understand. When you put 4 human beings, you'll understand you have created that essence of protection. This is how we create the starship. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. Dan mentions tomorrow, let's say the lines of communication, such as the internet and mobile telephones, fails. How will we communicate through the soul with each other? I communicate with my mother, who is 50 kilometers from me. I feel what she feels and I live her pain. Often I do not know if it is my back pain or my mother's. So does she feel my condition if I am restless or my knee hurts? How will I connect with Rick if there is no phone or internet anymore?
Was there a phone and internet 200 years ago? Now, at least you're educated to understand you can communicate through your soul. And then you have to understand all these souls sending messages. You're standing in a football pitch and everybody's shouting. Which one do you think is the footballer and which one is the guy next door to you? It's very simple.
Good morning, Mr. Kesh.
Yes, Mrs. Kesh, good morning.
Good morning. You once explained to me.
I explained a lot of things to you. God knows which one.
I know. Pardon. That the secret sits when you even can join 4 by 4, that is the total beauty of how you increase the strength through this positioning.
One of the most important thing is not sitting far in, finding which one of the 4 would like to sit on the edge, and which one choose the seat of the middle. This is one of the things that a lot of people will not be able to accept, is if it's 4 of you, you need to be the weakest to sit in the middle, the humblest, that you can receive, that in receiving you can give to all 3. And you will say in Farsi, "Kharabiyara bagali bar kone," means bring the donkey and get it loaded. How do you want to do that? Which one of you is humble enough to say, I'm the lowest? Unless we say tarof in Farsi, which means, no, I'm biggest, but I tell you I'm lowest because I know you're giving the praise. It's very much like the French way, huh? The later you come for the dinner, the more important you are, you give everybody else waiting. So this is what you got to understand. When the 4 come together, in reality, if they're what do you call it, the truth about their life is that who is the most humblest to be in the center, not to be the strongest to be in the center. That you can receive, that you can give. If you look at the star formation, this is what it does, doesn't it? We put the weakest on the top, that the 3 bottom ones can feed. And as it receives so much, like a fountain, it showers back, that it feeds and leads to creation of your space. This is the biggest problem for mankind. Not by talk humbleness, but by the giving of the soul. Then you can create. In olden days, many tribes used to travel this way. You don't need a spaceship, but man is physical, has to see something to be in it. One of the ways that in time you'll understand. You see pyramids all over the planet, and they're about the same time. How do you think it came about? Those who taught the people the way of travel, they traveled to these destinations the same way and built the same structures. Man did not go by boat, man did not go by ship, man did not go by everything else. And many of these, at that time, became the travelers of the universe. Man is not the first time going into universe. Now even you understand why you have pyramids about the right time. It wasn't travelers, it was understanding of those who could create that condition of humbleness. I told you one day I opened the book of the man, and then you understand exactly what has happened. Any other question?
From Doug in the Q&A, he says, if we humbly wish or intend to reach the Creator, will He not come toward us also? And we can meet instantly in love and balance, then we can sing and dance together.
How do you know your soul hasn't done that yet? But how do you know the creator dances? Which
Thank
music
you,
does he
Mr.
like?
Cash.
Pardon?
Thank you for that answer. That is so perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Shiraz asks, is salt being used as anti-gravity?
Salt is used. First of all, we don't believe in anti-gravity. This is the time of the past. But speaking about the salt, salt is a common denominator. It's a glue. Salt is a glue between the field and manifestation. Without the salt in the body of the man, you cannot manifest any organs of the man. And without the field of the universe, there is no salt, there is no man. You create a specific salt, you get kidney. You change the salt to another specific salinity, you get the liver. So it's the salt which leads to the creation of the organ of the man, manifestation of his physicality. And if you go further into understanding of this, as Baha'u'llah said, bless his name, even stone has a soul, even the stone has a salt, because that salt leads to manifestation of his creation in the dimension of physicality. If you listen to the writing of Muhammad, that's his name, he refers to these things quite a lot, but man couldn't understand. He was a very wise man. And then if you read in Torah, part of it again comes to it. If you look in the totality of meaning of shalom, or in Arabic we call salam, in essence, this is the greeting to the Creator. Not for man to induce, it says, hello, the soul of the Creator, as is from the man. You got a lot to learn. Any other question?
Hi, Mr. Kesh. It's Dean from the UK again.
Yeah.
How finite does the balance point come the closer you get to the Creator?
What do you mean?
I feel in my life that I've had big sways of balance from one side to the other. And then the closer and the more balanced I become, the closer I get. How finite does that balance point have to get? Does it have to be complete stillness?
Nothing exists with stillness. There is not a point of balance. In a way, you still find your soul. Mankind has to learn the strength of his soul, or mankind has to understand the language of his soul, that where it sits. Many of us measure everything in a human dimension and a human strength. In fact, once we understand the strength of our soul, then we understand the reality of the creation. Some of the Keshe Foundation followers are going that way. I see divisions, and a lot of you have a start what they call the true soul searching. Many of you get trapped by the materialistic world, and many of you move on. And many people will see as they gradually reach that point, will leave that point, the point of physicality. I see a number of knowledge seekers since last year is something they've been looking for, but they could not find a path, and they gradually are reaching there. the point of manifestation by the desire of the soul of the man.
Mr. Kess, did you know the path before I took it?
Pardon?
Did you know my path before I took the path?
You take your own path. Why should I know?
Did I know my path before I took it?
The soul does. Physicality follows. You got to understand, especially when it comes to the points like this in the history of the man, at the point of what we call turning points, is not that we appear as one suddenly. There are many souls who have been made to travel to be here. It's like, as we say, it's a point of destination. It's like a football match. We all have to be there at given time to watch the match. And some of them are the player of the match. And the time and the place for the change of humanity is now. All have come together. You see the soul of people like Arman. You see the soul of other people. These are not here just by accident. The souls has been set centuries ago to come, to be there. The rest are the same. We are the watchers. I said there are many, many blessed souls. All the members of the core team are those who've been promised centuries ago to be here on time. It's not coincidence. Coincidences does not exist.
Mr. Kess, it's shining very brightly here right now. The sun's blazing.
But in England,
yeah.
Be careful it doesn't get as hot as France. It can burn. So what it is, you see, this is what it is. It's not just that accidentally somebody came and happened to be there. It's the same when we chose the soul of the court, what you call the Earth Council. It's the same. It's the same power. These souls just don't happen. I heard about the Keshe Foundation. The soul brings them to the point of physicality to be there. It's understanding it. Doesn't matter how much you try to jump off, they'll put you back in again. This is a point of promise, the change for the course of humanity, and that'll be done. Nobody can change it. Doesn't matter what tricks you play. The king tried to stop it, and a bunch of idiots do the same. But at the end of it, you cannot change the destiny of mankind. It's been said centuries ago, thousands of years ago. When the man matures, when you have the communications that everybody can hear, can communicate, the position of the travel, people can understand the work of the universe, people can understand the construction of their own life. And now the man is mature to get to that point. And we are here to deliver. If you look...
Mr. Kess, thank you for the beauty.
You're welcome. It's given by the Creator. It's what you understand is the simplicity of the knowledge. If you look, even in the construction of the core team, we had the same. Those which were weaker have always stood out.
I'm not sure what happened there. I'm having some broadcast issues. I think we lost the connection with Mr. Keshe.
Yeah, he dropped out.
Okay. Okay, well, bear with us. It might be a couple of minutes before we reconnect here. Do you have something you can play in between, Flint, perhaps?
Yeah, I can play the video again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you. We lost your connection there.
Yes, that's the modern use of technology. Huh? And sometimes it happens. I think God didn't want me to explain to you something very important. If you look at the structure of, as I was saying about the core team, we had those in the blocks of tree that they moved out gradually as they did their job. And those who were the strength, the pillars, are still there. And in time comes that those even become to the point of the last three, as we call it, to be there, to stand. And that's what they hold. And then it'll shine outwards. And this is what we call the process of creation. It's not for man. And the same process, it's the structure which will follow, the structure which will set. It's the structure which will carry on throughout the universe. In the time when the, what we call Universal Council reaches a point, at some points the members of the Universal Council, those who are belonging to the universal community and not to the earth as such, but are passengers and visitors, you'll find out the mankind will go to them, to their dimension of 12, to reach beyond. And at the same time, in a coming time, we will have members of the Universal Council, which are from different universes. For man, it's a bit too early to understand. They're amongst us. They're not something that it might happen in the future, but we didn't have the eye to see. You need the strength of the universe to see the creations of it. You need the strength of the universe to see this creation. You cannot see with the eye of man. And it's very much, as I said many times, like you can't see anything unless you have a night vision, what's happening in the dark. As far as you know, nothing happens. Once you put the night vision, it's a different world. And when the soul of the man reaches that the strength to see the strength of the universe and the creator, then you see a different dimension. Any other question?
We have a question from Wolfgang in the live stream. Can you repeat how to tune in to the target, such as the creator or any star? The field of the target has to be weaker, so I'm pulled to the target?
You got to be weaker on one and stronger on the other. In a way, on the strength of the universe, but you become stronger on the strength of the creation on the dimension which you need or you want to be. And if you can go in both dimensions, you can reach the process of the understanding the totality that can be in 2 points. It can be in the dimension of your physical strength, while you are on a dimension of the soul strength. So mankind in a coming time will be able to manifest itself in 2 dimensions, one in the soul of the strength of the physicality, one in the soul of strength of the soul of the man. Where in fact the interaction between the two allows such a facility. So what we see a dimension of the soul of the man and a dimension of physicality of soul of the man, allows the man to manifest in two dimensions, one in the soul level and one in the physical level. But as they are interconnected, they can cover both themselves on both dimensions. Any other question?
Mr. Kesh, our friend Bente had a question for you, a technical question, of course.
I'm absent.
She's thinking about the plants and photosynthesis and how it works with the nitrogen 14 becoming the carbon 12 at night. So the plants get more CO2. And the daytime, the nitrogen 14 becomes the oxygen 16, and we get more oxygen. Now, what about the body of man? Should that be the case too? So that in the nighttime, the nitrogen 14 in our HCNO will become HCCO, more carbon. And in the daytime, the nitrogen will turn into the oxygen, so more oxygen for man's health and more energy and so on for activity. What about what does the more carbon at night do, if this theory is correct?
I don't know. You explained it. I think you answered yourself, but you don't understand what you're answering. You go from one to another, from the plant to the human, and then you say they use carbon or nitrogen into oxygen. When you understand that's the back and the front of a leaf of a plant, whatever you consider it, this has a different nano coating than this one. Gravitational magnetic field of the earth due to the suppression and the pressure from the sun, gravitational magnetic field releases different strength fields that can be absorbed by either side, and the balance become what we call the energy which the body of the man needs, or what the plant needs or absorbs. And whatever it doesn't need in acquisition and release, what we call fields of oxygen or fields of what we call carbon. The body of the man is circular. The nano coating from the back and the front and different texture of the body is totally different operation. Our shape of our body, shape of the animal's body dictates very much the same as the plant, the leaf. Then do we release nitrogen or do we absorb carbon at night? But in that process, what does happen to us? Why do we need to absorb and to release? Why do we use? I have just, sorry, 1 second, please. I have to use this ear, giving me a lot of pressure. Can I have the other microphone, please? Just 1 second, please. It's creating a lot of pressure in my ear. Hear me? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Okay, sorry about that. The other headphone was giving me very bad pressure in my ear. I couldn't understand. Can you hear me clearly now?
Except for some Morse code or something in the background there. That's faded away now. So,
is it better now?
There's still a bit of Morse code sometimes when you're not talking, but I think we're okay.
You're okay. So no problem. Sorry about that. It's the headphone. I remember now why I didn't used to use it. It creates a inner ear pressure. The mankind has got to understand the process of the creation, and you cannot change it. And in so many ways, in many of the structures, why do we use CO2 as a gas, as a fuel, as a balancer, as a collector? Why, if you understand the work of the plasma application, why do we use certain gases, for example, only at night? A lot of people just take gases just because they have to take gases. It doesn't work that way. You have to understand when to use it, how to use it, where to use it, the strength to use it. Every time, every second counts. There's some gases which the mixture of CO2 is best to be taken around about 4 o'clock in the morning for very specific reasons. It's the time we switch. It's the time where the energy of the soul of the man on the left side or the right side depends. Man doesn't know about the cycle of his life. I've explained this many times before. Men have a hypocrisy that women go through their monthly menstrual changes. Men do the same. And when it changes, when your cycle changes, the same as women, as a man, as a human race, we go through different absorption of energies. Some of it we cannot understand. We go to usage of the more of the left hemisphere than to the right hemisphere. And then the body has a confusion time of switching. And that's what we call the wrong time of month, where we just change the position. More responsibilities, handover time. Now, this side has the function for a month because this side, okay, it functions, but it has to keep working like the other one, but in the lesser order. It's the time when the body cells start repairing. If you work in the world of health, then you see cancers, and then you know when to handle it, which time of the month, and where is the functionality, which side of the brain works at that. All this still needs to be left. Because in certain time and certain parts, depending on the distance from the sun, where we are in the solar system, we absorb different radiation, and that super radiation we absorb will last us till next year, till we come back to the same position. This is part of what we need to understand. Now, as I said to you last week, you can, next week, most probably, next Thursday, most probably 99% will give you the name of the institute and the hospital in China, which will be processed through new technologies by the Chinese doctors for Parkinson or Alzheimer's or epilepsy. This process has been understood fully and is getting applied by the doctors and the scientists in China. knowledge belongs to Keshe Foundation. We have developed the technology, the systems for it, and now it's been shared, and practically over 1 million patients will be trialed on in the coming time. It starts with 1,000 from first week of 15th of September to the 1st of 15th of August to the 1st of September, and then it runs into 1 million trial. It'll be one of the biggest operation clinical trials. It's not a clinical, it's a process which has started. And if you're Chinese, it's part of your national health organization or private. If you are from outside China, you go through the structure, the telephone number will be given by the Keshe Foundation China, that they put you directly into the hand of the hospital and the doctors. We just liaison that everything goes okay and everything follows the procedure of the Keshe Foundation. We can walk away with diseases now that it was impossible even 2 years ago, because we understand a lot of these processes very, very clear for us. They have put a value of 25,000 euro for a Parkinson. You 100% should understand that the technology never existed until a couple of years ago. It's not a stem cell technology, it's the plasma technology understood and delivered. Very soon, in the next few months, we deliver systems that with any cancer you can walk in and you can literally sit and watch on the monitor your tumor disappearing and you walk out of the hospital. This is not fantasy, this is what we have, we know we've done. Now it's going to the portal research commercialization. You can literally sit down and watch your tumor. You can sit down and watch, for example, if you have a heart valve damage being repaired. All we done in China, on the supervision of the Chinese doctors and the specialists which have taken the position to do so. Keshe Foundation medical systems will be manufactured in Austria, but in totality, tested and delivered in China. It's part of the one nation. We don't take everything to China just because it's done by Chinese. Every nation will keep its development. And Austria becomes the center of medical equipment of the Keshe Foundation, and already systems have been shipped to China and is under development. So if you have a brain tumor, you can literally sit and watch as the tumor disappears, as the energy of the tumor is transferred, and as you see, the seed of the tumor is taken out. Doctors can watch you instantaneously within minutes. The knowledge is extremely, these are the ones that the systems most probably will show you in different conferences till Tehran. Tehran will show you the specification. That's why I said, those of you who are doctors, try to make yourself to be in these conferences, especially Austria, in most probably in Brazil, and subsequently in other countries as we apply different applications.
Mr. Keshe, there was a question about the conference in Austria. Can you hear me okay there?
Yes.
Jan asks, are journalists allowed to attend the conference in Austria? And if yes, will they be allowed to transfer the shared knowledge to the public, or only by signing the non-disclosure agreement?
We don't have any non-disclosure. If anything leaks out, we know how to take action for it. It's very, very simple. We will inform. The press will be allowed only in the presentation in Tehran. That's the only time we allow the press, world press, to attend the conference. If we find out anyone by press, by tricking or people paying them, can you go and report to us? I know the dimension of the soul of the man. Very easy for me. No games.
Okay, Okay, thank you for that.
Try to understand. We tried in the past to share with public, then abused. And this time we share with the government and the Keshe Foundation members, and you come in on the same ethos. Then the time of carrot and stick and punishment is finished. We deliver. Don't play with me and with what I wish. I can deliver exactly what I wish. But it has to be a time that, first of all, we have to bring the two nations of United States and Iran, and third nation, China, together to work together on what we see. And then we deliver the whole condition in November in a specific closed conference. It's not for public, but the press will be available in that conference. Then we explain more details of the broad spectrum of the application. Technologies are set to be shown. Some 8 members of the Keshe Foundation team will make presentation in the conference. And then we collectively, as all the scientists and the space agencies, target for April 21st in Tehran. And then from that time, we try to make 6 months landing on the moon and 12 months landing on the moon by man, collectively as one nation. This is what target is, and we are on target. Most of the things underneath has been done, basic foundation work has been done, and don't try to be clever to leak out. We might carry not the physicality which goes with the soul which hears. Don't forget, my wish is my command, and that's the rule of Keshe Foundation. If you're a member of the press, you're welcome. You introduce yourself who you are. We allow you in, but you keep everything till the day we release. It's good for you to be there because you can report the history of it. You can make the history of it, but you keep exactly the way we say till we release together in 21st of March. We need historians to record it. It's not that we don't want the press, but that's the agreement we make with you. Whatever you have, you don't release. We let you make the history of it, let you video and picture it. If the government officials allow their members, a lot of scientists in these conferences are high-level scientists, assets to the nations, and many nations who want to get hold of them or to harm them, especially we know the countries who do this kind of job, we are protecting those. It's done for the protection of the scientists. And I'm sure the governments will have a lot of say in if you take picture of the scientists. This is what we want to make it free, that nobody, it becomes a free platform. People trust the foundation, government trusts the foundation, and through it we work as one system. There's no use getting what we call a mole coming in trying to report. You report. I'm sure we know other ways to report back in so many ways. But if you want, if you're a reporter, you want to come to conference, we welcome you because historically what to do. Don't make any videos, don't make any cameras, you can write everything down. In the future, pictures and videos will be released by the foundation. You can add to your collection. But coming in, trying to report, making calls and everything else, we will watch you like a hawk. Some of the foundation members who came to different conferences were puzzled how much we know about them and what is going on. We protect the foundation and the knowledge of the foundation and ethos of the foundation. We encourage as many people to come. You have to come because you become the next generation to share your knowledge with the government. You are the one nation government. We did not choose you. Your soul chose to be there. This is the way it works. And then in conjunction with governments, we make one nation out of the totality. We need the present governments to achieve one nation because As I said before, the mayhem is too dangerous. Try to enroll very fast. Try to get in as fast as you can. And we close the numbers once we start getting allocations from the governments to see how many people they send, how they want to do it. If you join tomorrow in the presentation with the Iranian officials, you will see the level of the prestige that the teaching goes on around the world, by especially Keshe Foundation students and knowledge seekers. It's one of the most prestigious presentations. You have government officials, people who are influential in the government, who are present in the meeting. It will be totally in Farsi to explain a lot of things in what we are developing. What you understand, Iran will show one of the most powerful presentations tomorrow as presenting the knowledge to the citizens. And then you understand how far the West has fallen behind and why the Iranian scientists and space technology are so advanced. We respect our scientists, we don't terrorize them. Just get a chance to watch the Iranian presentation tomorrow, if you do, and then you understand how we respect our scientists in the real world of science, not in the world of terrorists. You'll be puzzled what is there tomorrow for you to see how they attend, how the conferences are set up, how the meetings are set up. I think it'll be a lot for our Western and Eastern scientists to learn how the technology is developed and is developing in Iran in the hand of the officials and the knowledge seekers. It'll be an eye-opener for a lot of you. Next question.
Mr. Keshe, Dan asks, are all souls equal or different in strength due to the layers created through experiences interacting with the environment?
We all carry our own beauty and our own strength. In essence, we are the same, but it depends what you'd like to show. Would you like to wear a shorter sleeve and show all your arms and legs, or would you like to wear a fur coat and keep yourself wrapped up? It's the same body. What do you want to show of it? Should we call it a day? We are nearly into 4 hours, 3 hours, 45 minutes or something.
You've answered probably more questions in this workshop than any other, I think.
Last time we went through the writing. This time I cannot see the writing, what the questions are. Then I would have answered everything.
Yeah, that went quite well. That maybe we can find a way to put that up on your board there, and you could actually answer it right on the board.
Call the hidden camera. I can get to it. Just wait 1 second. So let's see.
Yeah.
My glasses.
There was one question from Waldemir in the chat.
I would like to attend. Where do I apply? Go to the Keshe Foundation website. Keshe Foundation website, you can book the ticket. It should be on the heading of the Keshe Foundation.
I think it's in the store of the Keshe Foundation.
Yeah, I think we should put it on the front page on the top, not in the store. We're not going shopping. I think
it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, can you put the webmasters, can you put that directly on the heading, conference booking, and then send them to the store? And the answer is yes. Yes, we can. Thank you very much. I just got the message. If you can put it, you can book directly, and we close it very close. Once we get, at the moment, we're giving the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers an advanced position that we say we already booked. We cannot debook. So the governments have to come. Most probably they see a list of people they might object to fee of you being there, whatever, we have to negotiate. But in so many ways, you'll be vetted by a number of nations before you can attend it. And if it's dangerous, you will know. If you have any wrong intentions, do not book in. If you have an intention to become part of the world government, in applying and working in conjunction with the government, please attend, because we need that to be done. Is CO2 concentration in the water higher whenever we use nano-coating pipelines? Not really. This is understanding of the fields. I lost my thingy. I don't see the chat. Very few questions, if there are any more. It says it's just been released on the chat. Can you put it on the screen, please? You see it on the screen. It's called hh-store@cashfoundation.org, category events. You can see it on the screen. Are you sure this is it? This is the wrong one? This is the wrong thing you put on? Ah, okay, that's part here. There it is. You can go to the chat, you can book. We do not take booking. When you book, you have to pay for it straight away, that we know who you are. We had a lot of people booking and then waiting and the rest of it. If it's not done, paid for, we just cancel it. We don't take pre-booking or reservation. And we don't transfer anything. I've got some credit without purchasing something. This is a different thing and it has to be done in its own way. And everything should be shared directly. And you're asked, please, when you come, do not tend or try to disclose anything you hear. You might be working with some scientists, you might be working with some officials. Who you see, what you see, it stays between you and your soul. Because if you apply for the next what you call conference to be present, it will be deleted. As simple as that. And then you have to stand what you have when you release from the government officials and the strength of it. The event in Austria is on 27, 28, 29th of September. And I will warn you in advance, you will meet massive, heavy securities, armed officers, and full protection, and at the same time, highly tightly controlled. As we bring nations together, they need to feel safe within the work of the foundation. If you attended the what we call Italy conference, the first conference, you've seen how tightly walk around and protected by armed officers from the government and what they call free national services. And this time, we won't be short of that. Everything will be fully under control and is part of our work to protect you and protect us. You can see in Brazil, they want 2 meetings in 2 different universities where the teaching of the Cash Foundation is following. Sorry about that. In Mexico, there's a discussion what is happening now. Morocco is on the verge of going. In Malta, they have enough time to set it up as it comes, but you can start booking for this from now, because we will block, I think, the more after the first and second conference, when the governments will see and the nations will understand what is going on, there will be not much seat left in the following conferences. This is what we see, and this is what we understand. You've got to understand American military forces, Iranian military forces, Iranian space technology and American space technology, the same with the Russians and the Chinese, are invited to be present. We're talking at the edge of science technology, not for disarmament, but for understanding what is to come and what nations need to do to protect themselves. Iran is the leading nation in the plasma technology and nanotechnology. It's been for 15 years. They will be and part of it, and we already have explained that fully to the American Defense Forces, and they're aware of it. And then be assured we'll meet and there will be no problem. It's one of the cornerstones of the peace talk between Iran and America, because once the technology opens up, what's the use of fuel oil tankers? And somewhere here, you will see in November, can you move it up, please? Where is the event? Or did I touch it the wrong way? Somewhere, where is the list? Here somewhere in November, the back end of November, 22nd, 25th, there is a conference here. This conference is organized by a national government, is governmental conference. Keshe Foundation is present. Number of Keshe Foundation leading scientists will be present. They've already been invited, but is not for public, but will be reported in public press. Their presentation of their foundation. You cannot enter. This is totally invitation by order of the government. It's number of head of states, ministers, prime ministers, ambassadors, and high-level, powerful world leaders will be present in this to listen to the new development of technology in Keshe Foundation. This was supposed to happen in May, June. Now it's delayed to November. It's already all been set up, and all the speakers of the Keshe Foundation, science of Keshe Foundation already have been approved to be present. And Morocco is another one. If you want to organize, we have some numbers from Bulgaria or India, they want to organize in between. If it fits, we will be. You got to understand, I will not attend all these meetings. Brazil and Mexico and Morocco, Malta, we have Iran, April 21st. There is in between India, there is a cycle to go to Armenia. Arman would like to be there, but it's too cold. We only go summertime because there you'll freeze in no time. And then there is Australia and other parts which will be done. This will expand to 12 conferences in the next 8 months. This is our plan. Is to introduce the technology on the back of what we call the global company, which is established in the United States. We are waiting for lawyers to tell us we can announce it. And the minute they do, you will hear, you can buy shares, and the, what do you call, the process of the Keshe Foundation will start from that point. Any other question?
I think we probably need to give you a break here, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. We are nearly at 4 hours.
Yes.
Thank you very much for today. It is nice to be back live again on teachings. I try to bring you materials to be seen, to start understanding, to get involved in trials and testing. And we try to encourage presentation of technology in a correct way. Thank you very much for today. And hopefully we meet you next week. Same place, same time. And to our Iranian friends and what we call the Iranian knowledge seekers, it would be nice to be able to share what we know, the way we know, and the way we share the knowledge. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. It's great to see you there in front of the screen again. It brings back memories.
It's still alive?
Still there. You're still...
I've got a bit old and gray because of the Chinese, but it's good.
You're looking pretty good, I think.
Okay, I'll come next time with my stick. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you indeed.
Okay, that wraps up the 288th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, August 8th, 2019. As always, thank you everybody for attending, and thanks to our production crew for the show today. And we'll see you next week at the same time and location. Bye for now.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.